We've been growing soybeans as long as I've been around, as long as I can remember. Mom and Dad have always had them in the rotation. At that point, they were more used to feed the dairy cows, and now they're more as a commodity for selling. So on our farm, we grow soybeans to help with our crop rotation. Soybeans are an added value. So spring comes and we're all happy and ready for the weather. So on our farm, we specialize in soil health. And so we're not gonna spread any fertilizer before soybeans. We're gonna plant soybeans straight into the ground. They're gonna go in on either 7.5 inch, 15 inch, or 30 inch wide, depending on what variety we're growing. And then they're gonna grow. So we're gonna make sure that we manage and walk through the fields to look for any insects or diseases or weed pressure to make sure we can mitigate those and lower those so that the chance for our soybeans to grow the healthiest they are able to. So they're gonna grow from middle of May, beginning of May to end of September, early October. We try to get them off before Thanksgiving because we want to get wheat in the ground for the next year. And the earlier winter wheat can get in the ground, the better it gets started. So the main challenge we have with healthy soybean plants comes from Mother Nature. Aphids can eat at the crop and destroy the plant. Another issue is mold. So if we get a lot of rain and it sits for a long time, it can create mold in the stalk and mold on the bean, and those beans aren't quality protected. Around here, we can grow soybeans that other people in eastern and northern Ontario aren't able to grow. And it comes down to how many days of sunlight and how much heat we get so that they can mature properly. But on our farm, we can use John Deere connection devices, and so it'll track when we plant, what day it planted, how many seeds per acre got planted. So we can take those maps when we're looking at them and then take our yield maps at the end of the year and lay them over and see that if there's spots that are trouble, we can go to them and soil test them and see what is the problem. So with soybeans, the plant will be green and bushy and full until it's ready to come to full maturity. Then it'll start dropping its leaves and you'll see a brown stalk. And as it gets to the point of harvest, you'll walk out into the field, you'll grab a bean pod, and if you can crack it without much pressure, it's generally ready to be harvested. But then the last step is to pop one of those beans into your mouth, give it a chew. If you can chew on them and they're crunchy, they're ready to go. On our farm, after we harvest soybeans, after they come off the field to the wagons, they're gonna go to the local elevator and they are going to be tested for moisture. They're gonna be tested for purity. They're gonna be tested to make sure there's no chemical residue on them. And then they're gonna go into the bin there. And depending where our local elevator has marketed them, they will go in a sea can or on a ship to a foreign market. It's a huge industry, and Ontario is one of the big players, or Canada, I should say, is one of the big players in the soybean market with Brazil and Argentina. And those two countries are definitely ahead of us, but most years they can produce 2 crops of soybeans in a year because of their climate and their environment.